every damn time. Yeah. So welcome back to another great episode of Waking the People. Host Sir Chad over Rocheers with the guy that even Prince would sing about, Joshua, your patriot, my cracking McClendon. And 32nd episode. Joshua, you want to kick it off with our topics?
Absolutely. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you guys for bearing with me in the last episode. Our AC is back and running again. It was only about a day and a half that we were out AC, so we appreciate you guys. And if you have not subscribed yet, please do so. Hit that button, pound that bell, hit that like, share the videos, comment. We're getting more comments on our videos, so we really appreciate that. So some topics, Chad. We got some Bitcoin. We have the United States seizing back $4.4 million in Bitcoin that we paid as ransom to the Russian hacker group called the Dark Side. We have El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender in the world, which is awesome. And then we also have a little bit of a Floyd Mayweather, Logan Paul, and a recap. We'll talk about that probably a little bit briefly. And then we're going to get into some other topics that Chad has for you that I don't have any knowledge of, and I'll be educated just like you guys.
Yep. So the Great Reset, we're going to talk a little bit about that. I do want to mention some about the school boards and parents and teachers starting to take back the rights of children by not getting them indoctrinated the way that they have seen, and what's been causing a lot of upset. So creating, more challenges. So we'll get into that too. So, all right, Joshua, you want to? I have a curiosity about this with cryptocurrency. How exactly do you have any idea about how we were able to even get it back, or get any of it back? Because as far as I understood it, was kind of like having a Google Pay card or something. As soon as you give the number out and it's the funds have changed hands, it's gone. So do you have any idea about how they actually tracked it down?
So just for those that maybe aren't aware of this, so $4.4 million was recovered from a Russian hacker group called the Dark Side that was paid for ransom to turning back on the pipeline that we lost. So apparently, apparently the FBI used the Bitcoin ledger to track where the funds went. But this is where it gets a little tricky for me, Chad. And I like how you said what you said, because every crypto wallet, at least what's normally called a cold wallet, or a wallet that's not on a main exchange, they have a 12 to 24 password that is of random words in a certain order. And somehow the FBI had this passcode. Now, that for them to be able to guess what this passcode is, it's in the trillions of chances. It's damn near impossible. And that was the reason why I decided to talk about this, because that was a little bit of a red flag to me. The fact that the FBI had this passcode, they were able to figure it out. Oh, we got it back. That's a little shady to me, Chad. So are you familiar with the passcodes and how they give you a certain number of words and you have to write them all down? You can't really screenshot it. You can screenshot it on your phone, but obviously it's still on your phone, and your phone can be hacked and accessed. So
I no idea. The likelihood that somebody's going to guess it is next to none, right? Because the chances are really, really slim. If it involves our FBI, it depends on what level of the FBI, because I have a great degree of distrust for the FBI at certain levels. So I don't know, because used to think of it as a very, very good integrity-driven, organization of the government, but I don't think that anymore. But it depends on what level we're talking about. So I don't know. I look at it immediately, and the skeptic in me says, "Is it theater? Right? Is this even any of this true? Now, is it? I don't know. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist with us either, but we had something that is a basic infrastructure need of ours, and it was shut down. Not too long after that, which actually was as of last Friday. Last Friday, we have issues going on now with the Alaskan pipeline, and Joe Biden is not renewing leases for the Alaskan pipeline, and they're shutting down production basically. So we're not going to be getting oil from Alaska. And some people that are elected officials, the Democrats, the Republicans aren't saying this unless they're rhinos, had said that, well, we just need to flip over to electric anyway. This will just push us along faster to get to the electric industry so that we use less, we're less oil dependent. So when it comes to this, I don't know. It's just, it's kind of convenient, if you will. You know, it's, maybe I'm wrong. It's just a skeptic. I mean, I'm just sharing a thought. It's not like I'm married or convicted to the thought, but the very first instance for me is, I don't think that's true. Like, I don't know how much, if it is true, how much of it is like actually true, and if it's fractional or if it's a complete truth. I don't know. I'm just extremely skeptical, almost cynical when it comes to the FBI. So, but again, it depends on where they are as far as which, what level are they. A lot of great agents in the FBI, and then there's also some crooked ones. So that's just where I'm at with it. I couldn't tell you.
I agree. I mean, it's the whole point of having a wallet, a crypto wallet that's not on a a trading platform, is so that it can't be accessed. The only information, Chad, that they gave us was that the FBI had the password, and so the chances of them guessing it, like we said, are next to none. So they sure as hell didn't hack it and get it. Now, just based on that information alone, again, to reiterate, we're not talking about a conspiracy theory, but that seems very unlikely to me that the FBI was able to somehow hack this password and get that crypto back. And there's a lot of so many hackers out there who are probably much better than the FBI is at hacking. But I don't think there's any chance they were able to guess that password. So, and the fact that we don't have more information on how they were able to recover that password to get the ransom money back through Bitcoin probably just reiterates our point. I doubt we'll see any more information about this. Let's see if it goes away. But something to keep in mind, something to think about for sure, Chad.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I would love to get more information on it. If somebody out there actually has real knowledge in it, not speculative, but real knowledge in it, I'd love to hear from them. But I'm also a layperson in this, but from my history, I've just learned that certain levels of a lot of different agencies are not necessarily trustworthy. I mean, look, the FBI went in and raided Rudy Giuliani's apartment. And they took everything except for Hunter's laptop hard drive. And it's like, what are they doing it for? That's not the standard procedure when it comes to dealing with an attorney, especially an attorney that's tried to proactively hand things over. So are they following orders? Are they cronies? Or is it something that, perhaps people that were directly involved were actually on the scene when they went into his apartment? That's one infraction for my level of trust for them. There's more, obviously, but that's not today's intended show. This is just why I don't think that potential. Now, their job is to develop or collect intelligence. They have similar function as the CIA in the sense of they do need to collect as much intelligence as possible about whatever they're dealing with. Is it that they were somehow an intermediary and siphoned? So when the information went through, they had access to seeing the passwords from the receiver's end? Is it's the receiving person or whomever, the individual receiving the funds from that is the one that gets the passcodes. And with the passcodes, that's when they can access the funds. I've never heard, and from everything that I know about crypto is that you can't track it. So it's, if you have a ledger, like if I go, like as an example of this where you can track it, would be I go over to Joshua's store and I want to pay, with crypto for a product. It goes into his ledger that I paid for it with crypto. And that's because we have the direct face-to-face interaction. But over the internet, that's not really something that, as far as I know, you can't track it. So if it left, wherever it goes, it just goes into the ether and then it siphons out on the other end or deciphers on the other end. So then again, hell, maybe I'm completely wrong on this.
Well,
So.
I mean, it's maybe they had an inside man on the job. Maybe they had someone who was, a spy or undercover who was able to recover that password from the group. We can keep that in mind. But it's also interesting that this is all in the time frame. Pretty soon, President Biden is going to have the first face-to-face debate, I guess you could say, or meeting with President Putin of Russia. So it's kind of an interesting timing that this is, kind of all happening around the same time period. So something to keep in mind as well.
That is interesting. And what the hell? Like I'm sure it's just a conversation between the two of them. But I think it's pretty safe to say that everybody in America realizes that Putin and Biden are not friendly. Putin does not respect Biden in the least. And Putin is a sharp man. If you've watched anything that he's put out, he's extremely active. He's almost like not to sound like I'm betraying our country or anything, because I'm definitely an American and I'm patriotic and I'm a patriot. But Putin is almost like a modern day Russian version of Theodore Roosevelt. The dude goes out, he hunts, he freaking rides horses, he does all kinds of shit. And it's not special production like with what they did with Biden, but at least I don't have any reason to believe that. I've seen long video clips of him doing stuff. Not that I'm stalking him or anything, but I pay attention to the things that I typically do watch or that I come across that I find interesting, versus a little clip with a news anchor talking about Biden's spryness, with him with his aviator glasses on, going out for you remember that little photo shoot that Biden had with his he's sitting there curling while he's talking on the phone. And I'm like, anybody who's going to watch and look at that and go, this is impressive. Like, first off, those weights, I guarantee you that's not the real weight. Those are fake.
Oh, yeah.
Secondly, who the fuck does that? It's like, Joshua, what are you doing? Oh, not much, man. I'm just sitting here talking to you. Hey, Joshua, with what we were just talking about, what's your thoughts? Oh, I'm not sure. You sound distracted, Joshua. What's going on? Is that clinking in the background? Joshua. Yeah, no, I'm here, man. I'm here. Clink, clink. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, bunch of idiots. Anyway, all right.
That scene from Anchorman when he walks in and he goes, 1,001, 1,002.
I don't know if you heard me. It was like 1,000 girls.
That's Biden, the Oval Office.
The bicep medius.
Yeah, it's we'll see if anything more comes of this. It's not the only thing though, Chad, that we heard about Bitcoin in the news. I guess it's a good segue for our next topic.
Yeah,
El Salvador became the first country to recognize Bitcoin as legal tender. So now it's still pretty fresh. I don't really have more information on that, but based on being legal tender, I would assume that in El Salvador, you can purchase things with Bitcoin. It is being accepted as a currency.
I like seeing that it is gaining more traction. For me, to convince that crypto is something solid and that it is something that has more credibility, I want to see usage, the ability to use it, not in small sectors, but I'd like to be able to see it actually being able to be used all over. I know that Doge is supposedly there's a movement to get Doge accepted in Amazon, so to get them to be able to use that as a currency value that they do accept. Now El Salvador is accepting Bitcoin as a currency. That's I like seeing it, but again, long-term consequences of this against the country's currency. Decentralizing, it's good. I'm just curious and a little cautious about what some of the long-term ramifications of making that transition. Now, as well as, let's not forget, the United States government, like many other countries, don't find that there's a way that they have some sort of control with it. There's a damn good chance that they could do something to sabotage it. How they would do it, to say that it's impossible, to me sounds arrogant, because they've been able to control a lot of things that we would think wouldn't be controllable. I mean, they're trying to get everybody to get the shot. That should not even be a conversation. If you want it, great, go get it, but don't push or force anybody or try to persuade them into it. So that is an example of something that I think is kind of, if you don't think it'll happen, it's likely to, in my opinion. So with the currency, don't think that the United States could not affect it. But El Salvador is accepting it now as a currency. We do have merchants in the United States that do accept cryptocurrencies, from Ethereum to Doge to crypto. I'm sorry, Bitcoin. And I'm sure there's Litecoin. I've heard that one too. So that is out there. And again, as I've mentioned in other episodes, I think it's kind of interesting. As you buy an item today, it's $1. Using crypto, the shop could end up getting $1.25 out of it, just simply because the fact that it accumulated more value because of it being, the good side of volatile. The bad side of volatile, sell it for $1 and you end up with 75 cents or 60 cents or whatever, because you ran the risk. So I do think that's an interesting way of running a business. But I would say that in the short term, I believe we would probably see some companies using percentage values of the business can be spent through crypto, and then the rest has to be through the United States dollar or whatever the currency is for the country. I can see that happening. But to just leave it up to both options, you got to take extra steps and you run extra risk if too much of your business is based off of a volatile currency. So
I agree.
I would say the countries do the same thing.
I agree. And I anticipate that this won't be the last country. I actually anticipate that most of Central America will follow suit with El Salvador, just because all the economic, problems they've had there with their own currency. And that could possibly spawn into, South America. We talked about Venezuela a lot on the show. So there could be, the more countries that follow suit and start accepting it, the better it's going to be from Bitcoin. And the less volatile it'll be for sure. Because like you said, the biggest thing about Bitcoin is, in all cryptos, is that what can you purchase with it? So once it becomes legal tender, that you're able to buy items, and it gives it a stronger backing and a little bit more acceptance, you'll see some of that volatility start to level off. And I want to see a world where Bitcoin and the US dollar can coexist. You don't necessarily need to completely remove one or the other, but have it more on the level of like gold, where it's more of a storage of value. And if you want to, can you go into places and buy things with gold? Or can you do that? I don't know. And that's not to put you on the spot. I don't even know.
Some places, yes.
Yeah.
So it is a currency. It's not common anymore. Though using precious metals and other things, is it would fall, that kind of, due to the way that we've kind of evolved in our currency, that would kind of show up more like a bartering than necessarily like in exchange for a note, like money in normal legal tender. But there are definitely places that'll take your gold and then give you goods, or, there's we buy gold all over the place. Guarantee if you go in there, they're going to likely have crap right there at the corner or right there at their register when they do the exchange of gold, whatever the gold is, that they'll have the little things right there, the impulse buys. Is you give somebody it's $3,600, because they didn't realize how much value they had in their gold. Then they're like, hey, you know what? Thanks for that $3,600. I was expecting a couple $100. Oh, give me 5 of those things over there too. That's kind of neat. So I could see just walking in and be like, okay, well, I've got, an ounce of gold, and what can I get for it? But as far as going to Winn-Dixie, Publix, places like that, I don't think that's going to work there. Yeah.
I was just about to say Winn-Dixie. I'm about to take a old satchel, bring in like a bag and just put it on the counter. What can I get for this?
I would even love to see somebody walk in with one of those old pan sifters from the river. They're like, there's a couple of, wait, there's something right there. But can I get a ribeye with this?
Or just go into like Outback and just when they bring you the check, just put like 2 like gold shillings on there and just hand it to them. Oh, that's funny. we'll see. I mean, hopefully it becomes that level, like a storage of value, and it'll make it a lot, more acceptable, and it'll continue to grow. But still infant stages, like we talk on the show a lot. So it's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that we've beaten most. Maybe not. We're ahead of some news networks on this story for sure, like we have been in the past. So, bringing that light to people and maybe giving the people who are a little bit more on the fence. Again, Chad and I are not financial advisors, and this is for entertainment purposes only. But people on the fence that want to invest a little bit, and they're not really sure of the volatility. What word am I looking for?
Volatility.
Yes. They're a little unsure of the volatility, and you want a little bit more, validating of your purchase. Then that would be that would be a positive. So we'll see what happens, Dan.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just, to me, it's fascinating. If a business is taking that, they run a risk, but they could win, and if they control the currency they accept, they find the one that's most trustworthy, the one that they actually prefer, and say, that's the one I accept. So who knows? If your business can tolerate, let's say 10% of its proceeds actually get locked up, that it become investment proceeds instead of function, like something that needs to go back to the contribution of the business to continue to run. It's the same thing with this, though. With a business, if anybody does have a business that's watching this and is intending to start accepting crypto as a payment method, my advice on this, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm also not a business advisor or yours in particular, but I would personally set aside a particular amount that I knew that once I've reached this much money for my business for the month, I was going to be able to pay my bills with it and pay everything as far as all costs included. And then if I were going to have anything over that, maybe 5% or 10% that I will accept in a cryptocurrency. The same as if you look at the other side as the investor. I would not invest what I cannot do without. So if I have a 5% or a 10% allowance off of my income, I don't want to exceed that, because if I do exceed that, even though the risk can be there, that gives me a greater reward, I also may not be able to pay my mortgage, electric, or something else, and then start falling behind on my bills because I didn't budget properly. Same concept with a business. I would fraction it off enough and run some tests and see what small percentage of goods you can exchange for crypto if you don't expect that crypto to come back as a monthly payment that helps you pay your bills. I wouldn't bet on it that way. It's too volatile. So even freaking Bitcoin is too volatile.
It's true. Very true.
If you own an entire coin, we got up to almost $70,000 per coin. So now we're at back down to what, 34, 35, something like that.
Yeah, look, it bumped up a little bit because of the El Salvador. I think it went up like 10% today. But I like how you talked about businesses. I think businesses should realize that Bitcoin can be a very good safety net. So you could put, like, let's say 10% of your capital in Bitcoin, and if you were to come under investigation, or if you were, if you had to file bankruptcy, I'm not sure if. Well, I know if you were to come under investigation and you were to have to shut down, the government really couldn't touch your Bitcoin. It would be, it's decentralized. They would not be able to extract those funds. So it'd be a good little, hedge, I guess, against, normal business practices that people go through. But
I think it's definitely worth looking into. I can especially speak to a business management professional or somebody that, advisor or, mentor, and see what their thoughts are. Speak with a financial specialist and see what their thoughts are as far as it goes as well. Look into, reach into your own resources, see what you can get.
So we're at 36,984. We're up 12.31% today.
What was the height? The highest that I've ever gotten to?
I want to say it was around 60 something, maybe 68. I could, let's see all-time high Bitcoin. It was around that ballpark.
All right.
That's not right. That's not right. You think I'd be able to find that pretty quick.
No, it's just saying that it, maybe this is outdated. 44,795.20. But that may be outdated.
60.
Oh, wait. 63,729.50.
Yep.
Is that what you got?
Yep.
Okay, all-time high for Bitcoin was $63,729.50. And it's currently back, it's down to 39. Is that what you said?
Yeah, thanks, Elon.
Yeah,
Asshole.
yeah. Yeah, he didn't win any friends with that, did he?
No,
No, I don't think it completely ruined his credibility, but it left him with a black eye.
good
Uh,
segue, Chad. Me and you discussed this outside earlier today. I watched a podcast with someone. It's old. It's with Tim Pool. I know you're a big fan of. With Jack Dorsey, the one of the CEO, one of the co-founders of Twitter, and they were discussing ban accounts. And this is what made me think about this. I am under the impression, and I believe that Elon's Bitcoin tweets could fall under, even though they're not necessarily breaking Twitter rules. Wouldn't that be grounds for some kind of suspension or banning from Twitter the economic impacts that his tweets have on the crypto market? I mean,
I
that people have lost thousands of dollars because of those tweets.
yeah, who knows? Well, look, I cannot stand the censorship that these large social media platforms have. If they ban President Donald Trump from having accounts, but they let the Ayatollah continue to spew the hate speech that he does. I'm pretty sure Farrakhan has social media access as well, and he does not have a suspended account. And Farrakhan is a dangerous racist. You've got the Ayatollah screaming out to create go off and kill Jews, and many other people with the apostates. They truly are spewing hate speech and calls to violence. And then there's the chip that these big tech guys have on their shoulder about President Donald Trump. To me, they will selectively censor whoever the hell they want, and it is not equal across the board. There was one of, I believe it was the largest Facebook group for Israel. They got hit with 600,000 pro-Palestinian comments and hate speech, death threats, all kinds of things on their Facebook page, and Facebook shut down the pro-Israel page.
Yeah,
that was being assaulted by these pro-Palestinian advocates. So it was Facebook punished the people that were being attacked. So yeah, I don't. If they want to ban Elon, they'll ban him. It doesn't. They won't even need that much. It could be that he gets cream in his coffee, as far as I'm concerned. They'll make up their own damn reasons to ban him. There's reasons why they're doing what they're doing, and they have a lot of the background stuff that we don't have privilege to. That on our side, being that we're in front of people, but also just using your account on Facebook, you're in front of people. But what I mean by that is you're facing whomever is following your pages or has access to your pages. But what's going on behind the scenes is algorithms that are measuring your speech, the type of language that you use, and if it goes against anything that they're currently wanting to censor. So like with the January 6th stuff, there was a lot of things that would actually be in defense of it. They reduced the flow of the things that were actually in defense of what happened on January 6th. And then there's the ones, but the people that were actually defaming people that were at the Capitol on January 6th, their posts actually were able to be seen by more people. Same thing goes with vaccine hesitancy, which is recent, coming out of Project Veritas, talking about, one of the members, the whistleblower that worked for Facebook. And this individual was talking about, like, they actually had this list of things that they were doing that was on their internal working systems. So their internal social media they have for their employees. I believe it's called Workforce or Workspace or something like that. It is not called Facebook, though. It's internal Facebook, only accessible to the people that work in it for the company. And that's how they communicate with each other in real time to keep up with everything. And they put out the directions and guidelines for censoring the hesitancy elements. And it's a 5-tier element, 5-tier factor. If you're a tier 1, then you're pro and you're supportive. If you're a tier 5, then tier 5, I may have this backwards, then you are completely against it. And they reduce your ability to communicate or be seen by anybody who follows your pages. They down-regulate your exposure. Now, if you're a 4, you're also, again, down-regulated, but you're cautionary at that point. And then 3, 2, and 1. And again, it might be the other way around. If you're a tier 1, then you are, I'd have to rewatch the episode and to read more of the articles that were published by the whistleblower. But either way, it's on a 5-point system. 1 is least likely to be hesitant and proactive to try to encourage people or tell them positive effects of getting the shot. And then on the other end of the spectrum, if you're less likely to get the shot, and you're also more likely to share information that gets other people not wanting to get the shot. So they downregulate the exposure for that individual, and the other one gets upvoted, if you will, or upregulated, so they're seen more often. So they're manipulating that in the background, which is a form of censorship. It's not a form of censorship, it is censorship. So, and that is pushing a narrative. So if they want to ban Elon, they absolutely could. I just don't think he's treaded on them enough. If he starts saying things they don't like, it's also a way of controlling big name people, because they know that there's going to be a consequence just for them speaking their mind. So, yeah.
And Facebook, I don't know if Facebook will probably never, ever be any better than it is, in my opinion. So if you're listening, you're like, this is kind of a weird segue. So Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, was at the Bitcoin convention this weekend in Miami. And he actually stated that their goal is to try to make Twitter decentralized. And they're going to use blockchain technology to improve upon their banning. Jack Dorsey's actually stated that he believes that banning is not a good thing for Twitter. And they're trying to get away from it, because he wants to make Twitter an open discussion and keep things open. In their defense, Twitter, and I don't even want to talk about Facebook, because I think that Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg are two very different people. Twitter is having to battle a lot of things at once, and there's algorithms, and they're a little bit older, and they want to upgrade to blockchain to make it a little bit more user friendly and to make it less decentralized, so that you see less banning. So I hope that eventually we can. I'm not a big Twitter user, to be honest with you. I've only had it a few months, but it would be interesting to see if we can get less banning, and there could be other ways to dictate what people can and can't say on the platform. And he's even stated that that in order to, when you ban someone's account, it's not really good, because you're going to push people away from the platform. That's obviously not what they want. And it just so happens that a lot of people, and this is all from I'm paraphrasing, but it's more from Jack Dorsey's interview that I watched, that the information they get about certain incidences, whether it be Trump, or whether it be why certain people are being banned over others, is information they get from the media. And we all know that the media is very biased. They're very biased left. And sometimes the people that work for Twitter will get certain information based on their ideologies. And he's even stated that they've created this echo chamber in Twitter, because if you go back and look at the big journalists that have Twitter, or people with a very mass following that are in the media, the people they follow or interact with on Twitter are only on the left. So like it's not they're not getting different viewpoints. And he couldn't really state that most people that work for Twitter are on the left, but you would have to assume that they are, and that hopefully with blockchain technology and growing Twitter to the place where it can be an open forum, and we don't see people getting banned based on certain things, and the discrepancies that we see based on who's getting banned for what and who's not getting banned for what, that can be cleaned up. So it's I'm gonna wait to see. I actually like some of the stuff that he said at the conference. I was kind of anti-Twitter, and really based on the I think the unfair banning of President Trump. So we'll see what happens, Chad. Maybe we'll start to get this ship righted down as far as social media and who's allowed to say what.
Yeah, maybe it's my skepticism towards Dorsey. I don't believe him. Even though I know that you watched it and you sound like you do kind of believe that he does have better intentions.
And I agree,
Um,
'cause he even
and
stated it's all based on trust. Not to cut you off, he said, and he said, I completely understand that you're going to be skeptic because at the end of the day, you have to trust Twitter that we are trying to look out for everyone's best interest, and that's you're trusting a person, right? You're not really trusting, you know,
the organization.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Well, here's why I still don't trust it, even though you've said what you've said about it. If he was not in favor of banning people, why exactly is President Trump banned from Twitter? Why? Yeah, again, as I mentioned before, the Ayatollah, and I'm pretty sure I know that the Ayatollah still has access.
75% of Twitter, Chad, is not like of the users are not in the US. I thought that was amazing. I didn't know that. A lot of foreign entities have some Twitter input that have, you know, obviously campaign, election ramifications. So
Yep.
I'm with you. I'm not a complete fanboy, but it was cool to hear a little bit of a, you know, the other side of the spectrum's take on it.
Well, I've got an answer, by the way. Farrakhan does have a Twitter account and it is still accessible for him. These are people that are extremely dangerous. They're anti-Semitic. They're extremely racist people. They call for violence all the damn time, and they have access to Twitter accounts. But President Trump does not. I don't believe what Jack Dorsey had to say as far as, he himself is not a fan of banning. To me, it seems like he gets off on it because he bans the people that predominantly ban, at least the ones that we hear about predominantly, are conservative. Now, but once you're conservative, you're far right. No matter where you actually sit, you could be center right and you're far right, no matter what. Hell, even if you're center left, you're considered to be far right. So it's because of the lunacy of the leftists. So with that, I just don't trust him. I don't believe him. It's also similar. It's almost like, does it seem to you, and again, this is not to necessarily jump off subject, but it is to a conversation we had in the last episode with Joe Rogan. It almost seems like Joe Rogan got like, what is a $200 million deal to move over from YouTube to Spotify. His episodes have started to show that he seems like he's got more of a handler now. So he's changing in some ways. It's not overly obvious, but you can see that he does have places that he will go, but before he would have gone even further. And he's not going there anymore or going as far. So they like romance people in. It's good. And you become really dependent or expectant on that individual group or that particular company. And then the next thing you know, they start punishing you by, telling you they're going to take money away. Or with Rogan, they just completely pulled episodes that he worked to publish and they just pulled it, disappeared. And because he's with Spotify, they own it. So he may still have rights to own his own episode, but he may not be allowed to publish it anywhere else. So, or for the term of his contract, whatever that might be.
I don't know why he did that. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes he ever made. It's not like he wasn't doing well. Yeah, he made a boatload of money, but he was going to make money. He was making money anyway, and he had complete, control of the Joe Rogan experience. And I agree. It's definitely, by taking that money, by signing that contract, he definitely gave away some of his power as far as what he can talk about, where he can put it. I'm actually pissed off because I won't pay for Spotify. I'm not going to do it. I like how YouTube, you just go on there, you look up the episode, and now, you barely, this episode that I watched, it was 2 years ago. So I couldn't even find, more information or if there was a follow-up episode. But I hate how he kind of sold out, and I agree. It's definitely showing in his content and this is overall material that he's putting out.
Well, I got the numbers and it's $100 million.
Okay.
So $100 million or 1/10 of a billion to move over to Spotify. So making this exclusive platform. Now, I will say, I do like some of the factors about Spotify. I don't pay for the premium either. But I download a lot of episodes. I really do enjoy that. And we're going to be looking into this ourselves for the show. So, but as far as that goes, do I believe Jack Dorsey? No, I don't. He has to put on a public persona. He is probably the platform most hated, contending very closely with Mark Zuckerberg.
I agree.
And they've got to do PR work in order to get a better favor from people. Now, Mark Zuckerberg will be the most hated person on the planet, and he will pass Fauci if he continues to get exposed for misleading people and putting together these algorithms that intentionally mislead people so that they believe something that actually isn't necessarily true, or even is an outright lie. With that, the censorship, his relationship, getting involved in politics and in government, he's probably Mark Zuckerberg is one of the most powerful people on the planet.
Oh yeah.
Now he's up there. I'm not saying he's the most powerful. I'd put him in the top maybe 50.
I'd put him higher than that.
Yeah. So the point of it is that he's a behind the scenes kind of power guy. He has a system of communication that governments have failed to ever create. He's on pretty much every continent. You have access to the internet. You have access to Facebook. So unless it's shut down, I don't think North Korea doesn't have access. Well, they also have very restricted access to the internet, and it's all internal. So it's real interesting.
Countries, Chad, where you buy a phone, Facebook's already loaded on it. You
Yeah.
don't have a choice. It's already there.
Yep. If you want something interesting, try to delete your Facebook account.
Yeah.
Yeah, try it. I tried to do it whenever I went through a pretty nasty breakup and memories were coming up, and it's really just I was trying to recenter myself, and I did not want to know what was going on in her life or anything else. I'm like, I'm going to take a detox. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to delete Facebook. I don't care anymore. Done. Over with. Now, at this time, I'd still had almost 5,000 like friends on there, right? Facebook friends. So I had a lot of them on there. And I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to get rid of it. So I went through. I want to say there was 4 information required stops along the way to keep me from canceling my Facebook. And it asked me questions to see if I was being emotionally reactive, questioning my motive or desire to cancel Facebook. I put in stuff like mind your own fucking business, and it rejected it. I couldn't submit that as the information. So I had to actually write something to tell them why I wanted to cancel my account, instead of going, oop, there's the delete. Oop, it's done, gone. Now, I had to go through 4. And by the time I got through the 4th one, then the next one was, well, let's suspend it. Let's just give you a break. We'll give you a month off. No Facebook, no updates, nothing. Now, we'll just suspend it. We will. It was like a volunteer suspension. Now, it's hibernation, right? So I went ahead and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do a month. With it, by the end of the 2nd week, I'd already got a notification saying, hope you're having a good time, or like, hope you're enjoying your time away, or some stupid shit that I got in an email that was like just a way of reminding me that Facebook's still out there. And it was creepy. Now, if it wasn't for all the contacts that I had and the user friendliness of Facebook, not having a solid platform to transition people over to, I would have gotten rid of it a long time ago. It's just that it's got us addicted to it in its own way. We're so familiar with it. It's like you have your option to drive a car that's, in America, you've got your steering system and the driver's seat's on the left side of the car, or wake up tomorrow and you have your option to have it on the right side of the car. It would disorientate you. So you'd be like, oh, this is hard to drive. Let me go back to having the steering and everything on the left side of the car again. It's that familiarity, and it's hard for people to break. But if we had something solid and not another madman running it like Dorsey, it's going to take a lot for him to get me to give him any sympathy.
Yeah, I agree. I understand. Trust me. That's why I watched. I always like to see other viewpoints, perspective. I try to go into things with open mind. And yeah, there could definitely be some, manipulation and, like you said, a PR stunt where they're just trying to get people to, sympathize with him and look at Twitter in a different light. So I completely understand that. But yeah, it's, and people are probably like, how do we get to Facebook? But, this is all, it's all linked together with decentralization. It's all, we live in this world now where the internet is it's the king. When you think the internet, you think Google, right? You think Facebook, you think Twitter. A side note, Chad, you might like this. Maybe this will, maybe change your mind a little bit. He actually wants to take Twitter out of Silicon Valley. He wants to move to a place that's less, liberal, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're trying to make some steps.
It sounds to me like he's addressing what conservatives want him to say and address.
Probably.
It's similar to my skepticism about Caitlyn Jenner being, genuinely a true Republican. Like everything in her campaign at this point has just been talking points that are expected. Going to run on the Republican ticket. These are the things to say, and then there you go. Check the boxes. Sounds to me like it's also what Dorsey's doing, just trying to get people to say, hey, he's trying to become more fair-minded and even-handed. Is sucker people in so they become more dependent on their usage on that. Now, again, am I saying that's absolutely what he's doing? No, but that's my skepticism coming in, because he's one of those people that I just don't have any respect for. I haven't had respect for him for a long time. I don't even like his platform. I think his platform is shit. It's an echo chamber. There are sects of that where they're the little factions where they do have conservative Twitter, but it's smaller. They're the definite minority in that. And you get a lot of these self-flagellating, pseudo intellectualists that go on there that just get their jollies by arguing with people. I'm right, no matter what. And then Facebook starts to become the same damn thing over time. And it's very similar now. To me, Facebook is now what Twitter was 4 years ago. Now it's like you either have your group of people or everybody fucking hates you. No matter what you do. You put it out there, somebody's going to think, and send you some shitty stuff in your inbox or comment on there and try to make you look like an asshole. So anyway, I've got a gripe whenever it comes to social media. I'm looking forward to seeing what President Trump puts out as far as his social media platform. So whatever that is, apparently Frank Talk or Frank Speech isn't it. That's Mike Lindell's. It's a good platform. It's different. It's not like YouTube. You'd have to go check it out. And I do encourage it, but I don't believe there's any apps available for it. So you have to go directly through a website and the URL to get there. It's called the URL. Yeah, you just have to go to the website in order to have access to it. But anyway, I'm kind of digressing and almost getting circular at this point in this conversation, just simply because I got no love for these fuckers. Oh, by the way, if your kids are in the room and you're listening to this show, you may want to pat them on the little bottom, send them on out of the room, because Papa Bear uses his language on this show. Don't worry, we'll censor later whenever we're told we have to. Show's still too small for that.
Yeah, we're gonna throw it out there. We're gonna be real with you guys. So let's touch on this just very briefly, Chad. The Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight was Sunday. I know we talked about the show a lot, so I feel like we owe our listeners somewhat of our own viewpoints and recap of the fight. Did you watch the fight, Chad?
I did not.
Did you see the highlights of it?
I saw a picture of, it looks like they're just doing a slow dance.
The one I shared of did you see?
Yes. Yeah, that's a pretty popular photo right now. Yeah, actually that may be the thumbnail.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
I may use that and then transition some of it so that, make it a fade things in and out, so that be in the background somewhere.
It was a good picture. I mean, so I watched it. Like we've talked about before, I have to give Logan Paul some credit. He was able to survive. I don't think he was anywhere near winning. I think Floyd whooped his ass, to be honest with you. I loved how, as someone who participated and trained in boxing and other martial arts for a long time, his form was shit. It was not very good. I was not impressed with his just his overall technique. I thought that his weight saved him. The fact that he was 35 pounds heavier than Floyd definitely played a role why Floyd was not able to put him out. Had they been the same weight, I think that Logan probably wouldn't have lasted as long. And it's just, the one thing I don't like about the Paul brothers is that the constantly changing narrative that they push. First is, I'm going to win. 50-1, this and that, and then became, oh, well, I survived. You're like, what do you want, a freaking participation trophy? It's pretty awesome that you were able to survive, but at the same time, don't try to throw spite on Floyd because now you survived. It was almost like he won the bout even though he just merely survived. And I maybe it's just my mindset, it's my take on the situation, but it was entertaining, it was fun. All he did was really hug him. I know he did the little, you should go watch some of the highlights. He had this moment where he was like complete, backyard style punching. And I don't know. I'm hoping that next Logan picks someone his own weight so we can actually see how good that chin is. When you're 210 pounds, probably he was in there. I know he weighed in around 190, but we all know that when you walk in the ring, you're not 190. You went home, hydrate, ate. So he was probably 200 plus. That definitely saved him from being KO'd. And I would love to see him against someone his own weight. And hopefully that happens.
I'd love to see him last one round with Tyson. And I don't mean Neil deGrasse Tyson here, talking about Mike Tyson. No, I'd love to see that. Now I'm pretty sure Mike Tyson still is well past the 200 mark as far as his body weight goes. But anyway, now consolation prize. Yes, Joshua, he is asking for a consolation prize. He wants the ribbon for the field day that everybody gets. But here's the catch. He got paid $20 million to get in there to be a punching bag. How did he get the credibility to get there? Again, to be mindful of this. He started off as one of the Disney kids. So Mouseketeers or whatever the hell they were, the Disney Club kids.
What was that app called Vine? Remember? It didn't last very long with the Vine videos too.
Yeah, he got into Vine. Him and his brother. So the narrative will always change because they're actually professional social influencers. They truly are professionals at it. It may not necessarily be something that you and I would want to become. Because I'm not shock driven, although shock does bring quite a bit more attention because the absurd, the crazy, they get clicks because it's something that's entertaining. Even if you're sitting back going, this person's an absolute jackass, you're also likely to watch the next video to see them being an absolute jackass again, versus something like with what Joshua and I do, which is trying to have intelligent enough conversations to just expand people's perspectives enough, and including our own perspectives during the conversation. So it does take a little bit more of a concentration and willful desire to learn and to explore the subjects versus watching somebody run up and smack somebody in the head and then run away. The stupid shit they do. So yeah, they're professional influencers, man. You're going to get them changing the narrative constantly. They cannot be the loser because the loser does not get the person who clicks on them. The person that didn't lose is the one that gets the click. Even though he lost against Floyd, Mr. Mayweather, even though he lost against him, he didn't lose based off that statement. Hey, I survived. Did you expect me to beat him? So he was a winner no matter what. Plus he got $20 million for the fucking fight.
I know.
So he got more than the average lottery winning.
And
fighting somebody.
All the pro fighters, people that actually go against, opponents that are in their own weight class and are killers, that they will never even see a $20 million payday.
Yep.
So it's
right ahead of all of those people in line.
Yep.
Because Floyd could pick up a fight any damn time he wants. There was a nice payday for him. I don't know how much Floyd made off of that. It was up like 100 million, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So he made Rogan money for going over to Spotify for one fight. There's no obedience to his behavior. He doesn't need to be obedient. One fight. But everything has its own economy, man. They would not have $100 million if there wasn't enough people to pay the money in order to see it. So it draws attention. It's the same argument about the pay gap concept, especially in professional sports. If people don't pay the money to go see it, the money's not there. Simple. You want it to be subsidized? And if you do, get the fuck out of that sport. You're trying to make too much of a career out of it and you're not playing a game anymore. You're playing a game with everybody else's money that isn't even watching, doesn't give a shit. That's what happens when you get a subsidy from the government. It's everybody's taxpaying money that gets put to your desire. So anyway, all right. I don't have anything else on Mayweather, man. We've got one more good subject, and then we'll call it an episode.
Let's dive
So,
into it. Let's do it.
ready for it?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Okay. Next one is the Great Reset. I've mentioned it before. I'm not going to take you down an in-depth exploration of the Great Reset on this episode, but we'll do it in future episodes, especially with your comments and requests. We'll dig deeper and deeper and deeper into this thing. The Great Reset has been proposed by the World Economic Forum. They actually have it on their website. So if you go to the World Economic Forum through preferably DuckDuckGo, because the rest of them are not necessarily trustworthy search engines for the world information, but more for what they want you to know in your own country. DuckDuckGo, preferred. Go to the World Economic Forum. On it, you will see where they actually, now they wrote it as it's going to be a utopia. Now, a utopia is like the concept of heaven. It's where everybody has this wonderful, blissful experience in life. It's the idea of what a utopia is, if you're unfamiliar with the term. Now, they write it as a utopia. They write it as this is going to be the promised land. This is going to be the everybody, we eradicate world poverty. Everybody has enough. Everybody has the same standards of living. There's nothing unfair. No one owns anything. You will rent. So for the people that are out there, to me, this will absolutely destroy the middle class. The middle class in any country, wherever this thing gets implemented, will no longer exist. It will be the Serbian class, and then the elites. And if you're wondering who the elites are, a lot of them are going to be your elected officials and these mega corporations, these places that actually have hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars to their advantage. And they're going to be the ones that own everything. You will not own anything that's actually in their literature. You'll own nothing and be happy because it's a socialist concept. We all have the same things. I will tell you this, it will not work. It will never work for human beings to have socialism work. Simplicity of this. How many people right now do you know will get a higher end vehicle, $50,000 or above, and still live with their parents? It's a lot of people that do that. Why do they do that? To create such a significant financial burden is they can't even get out of their parents' home, but they're going to have this really nice flashy car. Why would somebody do that? Now, one simplistic and colloquial concept of this, or a colloquial term to use, would be peacocking. But why would you want to peacock? If everybody has, let's say, a smart car, well, not a whole lot of things you're going to do to a smart car to make it stand out, especially if you don't have any more money than the other person. Everybody has access to rent a smart car, say that. Now you have the same thing as everybody else, but it's not yours. It's something you're renting. You're leasing it. Now, one of the things that there is a direction for here is that, let's say, Uber is now the owner of all automobiles. If you want to go someplace, you have to call up Uber and have them pick you up because you don't have your own vehicle. So if it gets far enough down that route, it can get to that. If you read what they have out there, understand when they publish something, it's usually from the eyes of a salesman. They want you to see the values in it, not the costs or the cons, just the pros. So World Economic Forum has this published. Go do yourself a favor and read. Get into it. Find out more about it. Don't take my word for it. Again, it's the World Economic Forum. That's the website too. Now, Joshua, could you Google that real quick just to make sure that we got the actual website address for it? So with this, they're publishing all the really nice things, the concepts that everybody will get along, will all be equal. There'll be no inequality across the board. Equity would equalize everything and everybody will be equal no matter what moving forward. That's the Great Reset. Justin Trudeau brought that up towards the end of last year on one of his, believe it was a national, he was addressing his nation. But there's a video on YouTube where Justin Trudeau brings up the Great Reset and he talks about it in a very desirable light. So with that, that was one of the first world or country leaders that was bringing it up, and with not in the context at the actual World World Economic Forum. So he's absolutely on board. He's going to put Canada into that position. In order to do that, you have to take things away from everybody. How are you going to get a home away from a homeowner? Well, a lot of these large corporations now are actually buying homes above market value. It's not just people moving down or moving to Florida or Texas from states that are trying to get away from all these ridiculous draconian type of politics and rules that have been put in. They're actually going to these other states to just get away from, like, the COVID restrictions. And it's not exactly a bunch of people that are Democrats moving into red states. That is in some instances, but not all. California actually does have quite a few Republicans in it that are tired of the politics of California, so they're moving to Texas predominantly, and or Florida in large mass. And New York also has Republicans in it, and they're tired of the way the state has been run as well. So not all these people are Democrats moving into these red states. It's kind of surprising, because earlier on, I actually was under the influence to believe that it was a lot of Democrats that were moving, because these states are predominantly that. New York actually has quite a few areas that are Republican or red, and it's just the metropolitan areas that are really blue. Same goes for Florida, actually. Tampa is a very blue area. Tallahassee is blue. Miami has a lot of blue in it. Orlando has some in it, but then almost the rest of the state is red. So it's just per capita. And those are voting blocks. So, all right. So as far as that goes, Joshua, were you able to find the website?
Yeah, the website's actually reform.org.
Reform.org.
But the name of the site is the World Economic Forum. But if you want to go to their website, it's reform.org.
Reform.org.
They got all kinds of stuff on here. Some of it I have to really, I'd have to read into it. They give you good little teasers here. Countries must transition to a circular economy. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, it's on there.
Oh yeah.
Some crypto stuff, but kind of makes me a little bit nervous. We'll have to see which ones they're backing, because we don't want to be in the ones that they're backing, because that's just more control for them, to be honest with you.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
They may actually create their own and then just encourage us to get involved in it. So it may not even be some that they're piggybacking on. So, and I would not want to give that particular group of people control. So again, with this, degenderification can be a part of that whole concept. But we just got caught. So we got caught up in the whole race issue in the United States, and they do use this. I would actually say that some of this racial issue that's going on, where they've got so much racial division, is being encouraged through the World Economic Forum. It's not just the United States it's dealing with this. This race issue is going on in almost every continent. So, and it may actually very well be going on in every continent, but all of the first world countries are dealing with it. So as far as that goes, what they're looking for is socialism. But remember, if you go by what we say or what I have said personally, socialism is just the bill of goods that they're selling to you, but communism is the reality of what you get out of it. So it's the utopia is the concept is socialism. The dystopia, which is what has always happened every single time, is communism. But because they're so very similar between the two of them, it's just one says everybody's going to have plenty, and the other one says everybody will have enough.
Yeah.
So
I like the name World Economic Forum. Every country's so different. The United States is so different from China. Russia's so different from Brazil. Well, I don't think we need a world organization that controls everything. That just sounds terrible.
Well, think about it. We've talked about it before. If you're in New York and you hear that AR-15s are dangerous, you don't have a life experience living in New York, especially if you've never lived outside of New York, to say AR-15 is valuable in any way other than just trying to go out and kill people. Now, if you grew up in the rural areas, which turns out that I actually am a bit more of a populist, and I didn't really necessarily know based off the term. You live out in the rural areas and you deal with, pack animals, coyotes, wolves in some areas, hogs, hell, even dealing with having to deal with bears, things like that. You're going to want to have something like an AR-15 around. You may want to have even a larger caliber dealing with, depending on what type of bear it is. But if you live out in the country you're more familiar with this and you understand the value of it. So if we use something local in the rural areas, you're going to want to have a lot of the things that in the city, they're like, that's unnecessary. Now, if you leave it up to one organization to govern the entire planet, there's going to be so many things that don't make any freaking sense. So things to keep in mind. Again, this is not the in-depth venture into the World Economic Forum or the Great Reset. Just know the Great Reset is intended to take properties away from people because no one should own anything. You should just rent it. Somebody's going to own it. It just won't be the people. It'll be the elected officials, which at that point, they're likely not going to be elected officials anymore. They're going to be appointed. This is very likely, even though right now you can kind of say that some of our politicians were appointed, even though they went through the electoral process, because of things that we can't really say openly on this, because we'll get our channel struck or banned and possibly even altogether removed. So we're going to be careful with that one. Now, again, with this, look into it. You're going to see the bill of goods, the thing they're going to try to sell you, the good ideas, the nice things. And then you're going to see the other stuff when you start reading between the lines. Oh, it's worth looking into. So with that, it's not about, if you fall victim to the idea of what can we do about it, you're probably going to be stuck in nihilism pretty much. It's like, it doesn't make a difference no matter what I do. You might get to that, or you may succumb to it and then just sit down and let people do whatever the hell it is they want, which comes from exhaustion. But information is the first part. Start looking into things. We call this waking the people for a reason. We really want to wake up. We ourselves are waking up. So if you're coming to us, by the way, as our disclaimer before we close up the show, if you're coming to us expecting us to know everything about everything, you've come to the wrong place. If you're coming to us going, what are you guys learning? And what are you sharing today? What insights do you have? You've come to the right show. And if you're wanting to go to a show where they just talk about a bunch of nonsense that's just goofy and doesn't have anything to do with making traction in your life so you can get to a different position where you can enjoy yourself more, you're going to the wrong show as well. Our job is to try to make sure you become more aware of things and then get you to the point where you can have more, say, control in your life. Wake you up to things so that you have a better experience, more opportunities for you. Information is power when it's in action. So, Joshua, do you have anything on after my long diatribe?
No, I agree. I think that we need to be, we're not, Chad and I aren't saying that we don't think that, there are good things that the World Economic Forum could be doing and trying to promote across, maybe some third world countries trying to, better their economy, better their infrastructure, all that good stuff. But no, I don't think, you can call me maybe a little bit of isolationist. I don't think that any country has the right to tell another country what they should and shouldn't do. It's everyone is different. Every country is different, and things that matter here don't necessarily matter in other places. And that there I think everyone can agree, there sure as hell shouldn't be one organization that has all say over the world. So, oh God, I think they'll fail, to be honest with you. There's just too many countries out there that would not even accept it. Not even just the United States. There could be other ones that are like, I don't think we're going to do this. So,
yeah. Well, there was a country that actually called it out.
Good.
Back whenever we were in lockdown. Yeah. Because like the president of that country, I forgot which one it is. We need to look it up. They said they weren't going to accept the money. And they were being offered like this stupid amount of money. It was like $500 million just to the president, just to keep the country locked down a little bit longer. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. Called them out and called it out directly. It was the World Economic Forum that was trying to push him into it. It's like, no, I'm not doing that to my people. By the way, if you want something really interesting, look into Poland and what's going on right now in Poland. Fascinating, where they're being shamed by all these other countries. The reporters, not the countries necessarily, but reporters and people that are reporting on what's going on in Poland. And Poland is not accepting any Muslims into the country that do not make it through legally. No refugees whatsoever. Now, and they're being called racist and Islamophobics and all of that. And I got to tell you this, I absolutely appreciate the constitution of their president. He does not give a shit what people think of him. He cares about who he represents. And the people of Poland do not want people coming in that could cause them harm. So if they can't make it in legally, they're not taking refugees. It's really interesting. It's not saying no refugees whatsoever. There's refugees from certain countries they're not allowing in. We did it too, the United States, to the extent that if you were in a known terrorist country, then there were going to be extra scrutiny and or not allowed into the country at all, which now some of these people are making it through the southern border because of the current administration. So, but you get a chance, look into Poland and their, I'm pretty sure he's the president, not prime minister. But yeah, look into him. Really interesting guy. And he's a no nonsense guy. Just gonna tell you how it is. And he is so direct. And I can really appreciate that because here in the United States, we have a lot of politicians that talk out of both sides of their mouth. They're not direct. They say things that sound good. Silver-tongued devils is what we'd also like to refer to them as. But somebody who's just going to tell you direct about what it is, that's somebody that I can appreciate. Even if I don't like what they're saying, still appreciate they're direct about it. So none of this sidestepping bullshit. Now, yeah, there's a lot of other things to touch on. AOC, denying the relief money that one of the other congressmen set up in order for her to get her Nana money in Puerto Rico. And she shut it down, had GoFundMe dissolve it and return all the money to the donors because she wasn't going to accept the money from this congressman. She said that it was her family's affairs, even though she made it look like it was Trump's atrocity by holding back funds. Worth looking into. She's an actress. She's not a politician. She's a fucking idiot. And there's a lot of people that absolutely love her, but she's a young politician, not just young in age, but young in her career. She is lost in this thing, and it shows. Just watch her. She contradicts herself all the time. This is one of those things. Try to make Trump look bad by holding back funds. She's got pictures of her Nana's home with the roof falling in and stuff. And then this guy raised over $100,000 to send out to her, which, by the way, they raised it in a way of trolling her. There was a lot of people that were donating. The cost to lease a Tesla, a monthly payment for a lease on the Tesla, they were donating that was $499. They were doing that because of her stance and her being a socialist Democrat, and that, everybody should have whatever, and, everybody has enough. And, here she is living a lavish lifestyle. So they did that for that reason, but they did raise the money and it all got returned. She refused to take it for her Nana, but she would do it all. She would completely and continuously try to bash Trump's character, but would not accept money to help her Nana. What does that tell you? So yeah, that's just one of them that came to mind. I'm like, God, that woman's such a pain in the ass. She is I like to call her Alexandria Ocasio-Smollett, not Cortez. I like AOS more than I like AOC. But she's making her own name for herself. We've got our own flip-flop, or not the flip-flop. It's just, how bad of a liar do you want? You want Juicy Smollett, or do you want AOC? Both of them are pretty bad. Actually, I wouldn't say both of them are pretty bad. Both of them are epically bad. So anyway, that's enough subjects for today. We'll come back over the weekend, and we'll get you updated a little bit more. So, Joshua, you got anything else before we end the show?
No, that's it. Thanks for watching another episode. Really appreciate you guys. Keep the subscriptions coming. Pound that subscribe button, share the videos, comment, like. Really helps Chad and I out. Looking forward to the next episode. Have a great week, hump day, and just stay golden, Pony Boy, as always.
Yeah, you know what? Pound that like button like a tender date. Okay? Hook up with that subscribe button as if this were, I don't know, Plenty of Fish or Bumble. Take it all the way with the subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification so you understand whenever Daddy's coming home. So, all right, till next time, I am your host, Sir Chad Evergrow Shears, and I'm joined with my wonderful co-host, the man that even Prince would sing about, Joshua, your patriot, my Kraken McClendon. Now, with that, remember, we're all in this together. We're Americans. Let's act like it. Until next time, Joshua, what do you got? Till next time.
Stay golden, Tony boy.
There you go, baby. All right. Well, till next time, y'all. We're done. We're out. See ya.